take data from there free of charge. The various network providers are giving that most especially for the people in the rural areas, so that they can access the learning through radio and through the television. As much as this we have done this, we still realize that there is an access challenge. The challenge is there, but I don't want to be, I want to be forward-looking. I want to be optimistic attitude rather than a pessimistic attitude, because even when you didn't have these problems and the schools were open for people to attend, you will still have people in the rural areas who refuse to go to school. They leave their parents' home, but they won't go to school. So we do realize these things, but we've continued to see how we can improve and see that more people have better access to learning in the rural areas.
Okay, thank you very much for that enlightenment. Now let me go back to our Lord Bishop, sir. Now, are you already looking at the effects of this pandemic on the performance of children? Let's look at children at the lower class, and now let's look at children at the tertiary level. Just briefly, sir, before we quickly go on this break, what effects are you already seeing that this pandemic, this closure we have on the performance of students? My Lord Bishop, sir, can you hear me, sir?
Yes, sir.
Yes. What effect do you think that this pandemic we have on the performance, academic performance of students, both at the primary school level, the secondary and the university level, sir?
Well, I think it is also a challenge to our students. Now they are being compelled by the situation to reach out beyond their immediate academic environment. As I said earlier on, it's a global sphere there, and resources are there online. But the tragedy of the reality is that many of our students in this generation are really not serious. Even when they were here on the campus, you have to force them to go and study. You have to force them to go to the library. You have to sometimes force them to go to class. It's a different generation. The social media is a big distraction. Before now, the social media has been a distraction, and that's why some universities even ban the use of phones. And now that we are forced to now take the class to the ear, then we now give them the challenge to adapt their interests and make sure that now they get more serious. I hope the parents who are keeping them at home will not allow them to be playful so they can read. Because even while they were here, you hardly find them reading and studying hard. Yet we have some very brilliant students who are first class. Like last session that we had 42 first class that we produce who are genuine first class. And so there are those who are very serious, those who are not serious at all. We will have to find these categories of students. So in general terms, those who are not serious, we use the opportunity not to be more serious, because they say they're not in class, they cannot be compared to study. The challenge now is on parents to play the role of the lecturers on their students, to force them to be very studious and to force them to attend the classes that are ongoing. I think it's going to bring the best out of the students. We will come out getting better than even we were before. I believe so.
Thank you very much. Professor Saddam, let me quickly take you on this question. Do you think the free education and welfare of students, can we compare what has been happening in the past and now? Maybe if these things were in place, we wouldn't fall into this problem.
I agree with you totally. The issue is not really about free education. Nothing is free. What is free to you is paid for by a group of persons, maybe government organizations, and one way or the other. Now, I had the benefit from a free education under the government of Professor Ambrose Folorunshò in Dembe, in the state, between 1979 and 1983. Not just that tuition was free, we were given books, we were given pencils, we were given ball pens, etc. But we were not fed. The government didn't feed us. Our parents were just asked to give us a uniform and then encourage us to come to school. And that was it. It helped us. Now, why I said the issue is not about free education. I wanted to push for free education now because I know somebody is paying somewhere. What I will push for is better funding of education. Beloved, let me just give you something here, a brief. One, UNESCO asks that nations should set aside, especially developed nations, should set aside about 26% of their budget for educational development. Nigeria is trying to cope with just 6% of our budget. Ghana had gone ahead. Ghana is doing between 30 to 40% of their budget. Beloved, this may surprise many persons. There is a university in the state of Connecticut in USA, Yale University. The budget of that school for 2019 was $29.4 billion. What that means is that that school alone had a budget that was $1 billion higher than the total budget of Nigeria that budgeted 10.33 trillion naira that same year, which is about $28 billion. And Yale University is just a private university. That tells you, what is required to run a school. And 6% of that amount, of 6% of our budget last year was about $620 billion, which is just merely about $1.7 billion. Beloved, I'm not saying the 40 federal universities shared $1.7 billion. No, that was what was meant for the minister, or the staff, the parastatal, and then I don't know, whatever will go to the university. We are joking with our education, and invariably we are joking with our future. That is where the problem lies. I am appealing to the government to please take the funding of education seriously. Let's reprioritize it. Let's make education a matter of priority again, the way Ambrose Ali did it in Bende State then, and somebody like me benefited. Thank you. Okay,
then to Mr. Zikora, you would like to respond to that, sir?
Yes, I would like to respond to that. I thank Venerable Prof for what he said, but we have to put also some of the views that he has put up in some context. We will realize that we should not look at the budgetary provisions that government makes for education, which is still not commensurate enough in the terms of the budget that the government provides. We can also look at it from the extra budgetary activities that happen in that sector. Why do I say so? For the universities and the polytechnics and the higher institutions, there is an extra window for funding that is opened for them through the TET fund. It's huge. And also, on the primary school level, we have the UBEC system, the primary to about the junior secondary school, the UBEC system that also brings in a lot of funding for the public schools in that system. And of course, there's also the secondary school basic thing that is being set up too, that will bring in extra funding. This funding comes from some of the taxation that is that the private sector brings in, and which also helps in funding the education system in the country. So I do agree that the government ought to pay more attention and give more money to educational institutions. But I also give a challenge to Prof and the educationists. The research presents a veritable avenue for raising a lot of funding, especially for the tertiary institutions. And I would like to see a situation whereby the tertiary educational institutions should take research more seriously. Something like this pandemic that has occurred to us, which is the COVID-19. There are several areas in the United States and in Europe. The research institutions affiliated to universities are leading the effort to develop a vaccine and other kind of cures for this COVID-19. I would like to see a situation whereby this can also be replicated in a country like ours. We have several brilliant people in the academia, and they prove themselves even greater when they go abroad. So please, there's a challenge that let's release our potentials in the system and let's see how far we can go.
Okay, we'll be right back after this break just to take on some more discussion on this segment. And after the break, you also have opportunity to phone in to be part of this program. Stay tuned and go away.
During the time of missionaries, even though I was not in school then, but from history, they are better managed, and the inspection of the school was perfect. Now teachers do what they like, they come to school the way the time and the way they like it. Children are unruly, but you cannot do so during the time of missionary, when the missionaries are in charge of schools. The discipline was there. Children are better disciplined. Even though the pay may be very poor, but I think teachers there were contented because the churches, the missionaries or the church choose their own teachers, and they choose committed people who are 100% teachers. Not these days that you will see a teacher, you're a teacher, you're a this, you're that, you're that. And now, people take teaching as, since there is no work to be done, let me just go into teaching. People don't really take teaching because they have wanted to. They take it as a second choice. What will I do? If I don't have anything to do, let me go and teach. And that is why you will see people that read all sorts of courses in the university going into teaching. Not that they know what to teach, not that they have that calling, but just to get their daily bread. During the missionary time, it was not so. You're a teacher and you're a trained teacher, and you perform and give in your best.
To me, the school is not in session. It may be difficult, although they are going to go about it, that the principals or the headmasters have the address of the students. But to me, hence schools are not in session. I think that money should be channeled into buying enough palliative for everybody. But the school is not in session. Why are you feeding them? Children are not in school. Most of them, how do you locate them? But you know, our kind of environment, people are there to do the supply. Supply must be made, and people must make money. You know, every situation, people make, even in war situation, people make money by selling arms. So to some people, if you stop it, money has been budgeted. It must be spent. Some people have already planned how they will eat the 10%. Some have planned how they will take the kickback. So I believe they have this tendency that if we stop this thing, it will not come to us. We must do it. Contract must be executed. It's actually the interest of those people executing these policies that are pushing for this thing. To me, school is not in session. Don't feed students. When they resume, you start feeding them. Even when they were in session, how much food do we give them? The food they give them look like food you give to prisoners. I've seen it in pictures. Forget the one they show us with ministers. But go deep down to the villages. You see what they give to them. So health school is not in session. My take is they should stop it and channel the money in buying palliative for as many they can buy for. When the school starts again, they start. It's like you telling me to come and pay school fees when school is not in session. What will I pay it? What will I pay it for? So what are they going to feed? In their homes? Okay, you have a child in school. You are giving them raw food. Is it the only child that's going to eat that food? You are indirectly providing for the whole family. So the actual aim of it being school feeding program is no longer there. So when the school is in session, use the money for in buying palliative and distributing enough for everybody. What of us that don't have children in other schools that enjoy this school feeding program? So who buys food for our children? Are we not Nigerians? So please, it should be stopped. My candidate advice.
Advice on the government, we want them to be more committed on the education of our children. It's unfortunate that most of them in the government, many of their children are not here. They are schooling abroad. and we are left here. Even some of them are in Ghana. They should raise the standard of our education and the standard of pay for the teachers too, so that they will put in their best and make sure that they produce God-fearing students and children that will be useful to both themselves and the government and the society at large.
Okay, thank you for staying tuned. This is still exclusive, and we are still talking on education. Now, let me quickly ask my Lord Bishop, sir. Do you think, sorry, let me ask a Venerable Professor, sir. Do you think that the education sector should be returned to the missionaries? If you compare how schools are being run now and how it was being run those days. Venerable Professor, sir, can you hear me, sir? Hello? Yeah, okay. Let me just get Mr. Zikora and find out from him if you are there, sir. Can you hear me? Okay, sir. Now, do you think that more missionary schools should be returned to the missionaries? Hello, sir. Okay, we are having some challenges with our network there. Let me find out if Professor Ashaju is back. My Lord, if you can hear me, sir, do you think the missionary school should be returned for proper management? Okay. Would like to just maybe take a break and get the connections back and just stay tuned.
There are a lot of false information about the coronavirus. These are the facts.
Yes, I think.
People of all ages can be affected by the coronavirus. However, older people and people with pre-existing medical conditions such as asthma, diabetes, heart diseases are more vulnerable to the disease. It is not for old people alone. Gargling salt and warm water or chewing garlic and ginger cannot prevent the virus. Drinking alcohol, hot lemon, palm oil or chloroquine will not kill the virus. The virus cannot be transmitted through mosquito bites. Antibiotics do not work against the viruses. Antibiotics work only against bacteria. Boiling pineapple peels, lime and ginger does not kill the virus. Putting raw onions in rooms will not ward off the virus. Using or spraying Dettol, special oils and water all over your body cannot kill the virus. There is no scientific evidence that cooking, drinking or eating any of these is an effective treatment for coronavirus. Do not self-medicate and take responsibility by sharing only verified messages from health authorities such as NCDC, Federal Ministry of Health and WHO.
All right, sir. Let me go back to Venerable Bernard, Venerable Professor Bernard. Now, can you just tell us what you think about returning the missionary schools back? Hello, sir. Venerable Professor, sir. Can you hear me? Now, Venerable Professor,
can you hear me, sir?
Yes, I can hear you very well.
Okay, now, what do you think about
returning the
missionary schools back?
Well, beloved, I believe schools should be returned, especially to the churches. I happened to attend a school that was founded by an Anglican church, though by the time I enrolled, government had already taken over. That school was taken and merged with another school while we were there. But today, there is nothing there again. There was one school that was the pride of my people, Pilgrim Baptist Grammar School. Today, if you pass that place, it's like a forest. In fact, it is a forest. We can go on and on and on. Government has tried, but I think we should be, we thank them. Government really has tried. But schools should be returned, and government should concern themselves more with making policies and regulations that would guide the schools and, if possible, guide them in forming curriculum. Now, government could fund school by giving grants to missions, churches or other areas. Government should return those schools back, because even those who are in the ministry will agree that they have not really fared well the way they thought they would. Thank you.
Okay. Now let me check on. Let me ask Mr. Zikora if you can hear me. Do you think we should, or the government should totally, or what is the hindrance in returning the missionary schools back?
Hello.
Can you hear me, sir? Yeah, Mr. Zikora, can you hear me, sir? Can you hear me, sir?
Yes, you went off and then you just come in again.
Mr. Zikora, can you hear me, sir? Okay, so let me take Bernard, sir. Now, research has shown that lack of teachers and welfare is part of the problem why educational sector is degrading. What's your take on that?
I can't hear you, please.
Very good. The educational sector,
the welfare of teachers
has been attributed to be a part of why the education sector is degrading and dragging behind. Do you think that is a valid point?
Is that question for me, please?
Yes, it's for you, sir.
It's for you, sir.
It's for me. Okay.
Yes.
Oh, beautiful. Yes, indeed. There is a meeting point between the welfare of the teachers and the outcome of what they do. Now, let's take this for instance. In Switzerland, a country that is ranked as one of the best in the world as far as educational standard is concerned. According to Career Addict, it's an online program, anybody can Google it and get the same thing I got. An average teacher in the primary section is receiving $69,000 per annum. That translates to about 24.8 million naira per annum. We're talking about 2.1 million naira or thereabout as salary per month. So nobody should be in doubt as why their system is wonderful and is going very well. Now, when we're in secondary school, the best of students were easily spotted on by the authority of the school, and they are retained. I think in the university system, that still applies. But ask any average student today, even the ones who are not even doing so well, if they would like to be teachers, and nobody will agree. Why? Because teachers are no longer They are not recognized. They are not giving their due respect. So honestly, teachers should be giving their due respect. Teachers should be giving their due pay. I think that will help a lot. That truly will help a lot, like we have in Switzerland. Thank you.
Okay, now, to Mr. Zikora, sir. I asked a question before,
which I'm not sure if you get, is to know that, one, should the missionary school not be returned to
them at this point?
Totally to them at this point?
We can barely hear your audio.
I don't know if
you
can check your audio level there, sir.
Okay. While we
wish to check your audio level, let's see.
Are you hearing me?
Okay, now we can hear you.
Now we can hear you now.
You can hear me. Okay.
Yes.
I am of the opinion that missions that ask for their schools, those schools should be returned back to them. There are state governments who have already finished this process. I believe that some decades ago, or about the last decade, the Enugu state government did return a lot of mission schools to the various missionaries that owned those schools before, including my alma mater, the Union Boys Secondary School, Okunano, which was returned to the Anglican mission in Enugu, the Diocese of Enugu. So there is nothing wrong with mission schools asking for their schools to be returned to them, and government in turn returning these schools to those missionaries, because actually the religious organizations, they are committed to things like education. And indeed the federal government is positively that they have a positive attitude towards that, even for all religions. I can tell you that the Ahmadiyya schools that were built by the past administration, this current administration has activated action to hand them over to certain religious sects in the Islamic world to run them, so that the Ahmadiyya can learn of. So that should be the case with also Christian missionary schools. And I don't see any...
Okay.
So let me go back to rounding up this segment.
What should the government be doing now?
This question is for variable professor before I end up with Mr. Zikora. What should the government be doing, and what do you think the parents needs to be doing, and then what the institution did, the owners of schools, private institutions should be doing now, going ahead?
A new challenge has been thrown on all of us.
Is that for me?
Yeah.
No, for variable professor, sir. I'll come back to you, sir.
Yes, thank you. A new challenge has been thrown at all of us. And I think we better wake up. That's just the catchword for everybody. Wake up to your responsibility. Government should govern us well. Parents should parent their children well, their wards well. Schools should come alive, should wake up to their responsibility. Let's be clear of one thing. This pandemic is not going to leave us the way we were before now. No challenge that means a man leaves the man the same way, as I said earlier. So we better just brace up and know that this thing is real, that has come on us. So what is the next thing to do? So we just have to get that done. as far as education is concerned, government's eyes are opened now. They should prioritize education. Education should be of prime importance to government. Thank God for the church. They are waiting, and I'm sure the church is ready to take up whatever they are asked to do as far as teaching the children, training children are concerned. Parents, please. There's one question you actually asked, how this thing can affect them. I wouldn't even want to answer that question that way, how it can affect them. I would say, will it affect them? Can it affect them? The answer is yes. It will affect them, my dear brother. Should it affect them? The answer, all of us, the government, the parents, the churches, the society, we should make sure we do all that is needed. Goes back to school when the time comes. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. Let me end this section with Mr. Zikora. What do you think everybody needs to be doing now?
All hands should be on deck. Like Venerable Professor did mention, the pandemic is not going anytime soon. Where the soonest time that a safe vaccine can be produced against such a virus like we're facing, I hear is towards early next 2021. So all hands must be on deck to see the kind of adaptation measures that we have to put in place, that this does not continue to impact so negatively on the education sector. We must improve the e-learning platforms. I know that e-learning will not be able to resolve everything concerning education, especially for the sciences, engineering, and the rest of them that you will need to do certain laboratory exercises and experimentations, and also the issue of simulations. But we can do simulations online, and for the issue of lab, the schools may need to begin to look at what's the population of students that we have to admit into a lab using safe distancing measures, so the students will not be negatively impacted in a long way. These are issues that we really think outside the box and begin to check how can we continue to render education services to our children without being negatively impacted by the COVID-19.
Okay, thank you very much for your time. We just want to take a short break and move to the next segment. But before I allow Venerable Professor to go, there's a question somebody is trying to get your opinion, since we have lost connection with the Lord Bishop. The school feeding program by the federal government during this lockdown and closures of school, what's your take on it?
Well, sincerely speaking, I think the idea behind the feeding program was okay. That is laudable. What was said then was that it will encourage those students to come back to school if what they needed while they are begging in the street is just food. Food is available in the school, so they can come and they have food in the school. That's okay. That's okay. That's okay by anybody. That's okay by me. But with the pupils at home, with their parents, the government still feeding them at home, people must ask questions. And people are asking questions. Now, a presidency was quoted as saying that a plate of food at the cost of 70 naira per day is what they use to feed about 9.7 million puppy across the 31 states. I think about 53,000 schools or thereabout. Now, that amounts to over 600 million, about 680 million naira. In a nation where government schools are in different states of disrepair and dilapidation, we're using that to feed children. At a time like this, when the school is at lockdown, people certainly will ask questions. If you ask for my opinion, of course, I don't know if that would count. If you ask for my opinion, I think we can do better. I think we can do better. It sounds wasteful to me. I'm sorry to say. It sounds wasteful to me, and it could be used to do better things.
I appreciate where the venerable professor is coming from, but we have to put this in some level of backgrounding. Why was the need for the school feeding program in the first instance? It was a function that there were several school children who were of very poor backgrounds and suffering from malnutrition, and there was a need because the health of the student is important if that child is to have proper level of education. So we felt that one of the motivation for students, for school children to go back to school and to look forward to going to school is that when they get to school, they can eat one egg, take some bread, or eat jollof rice in the afternoon for lunch and things like that. That was the need all over the world. That has been the motivation for introducing school feeding. However, the issue is, why feed students? Why feed the children while we are in a lockdown? Don't they have their parents in their homes? No, still at the lockdown, the same conditions that they were facing without the lockdown is what these children are still facing today. And don't forget that we are still beaming studies to them through the radio, through the television, through the internet system. And the concern of government is that these students, these school children, will still be able to feed well. As to the monies involved and data, these are things that we need to improve. Statistically, to improve the data, to know, to please do a proper monitoring to ensure that this food is getting back to the children. Meanwhile, we have to understand that in Nigeria too, the school feeding is no longer being done, that rice is cooked or eggs are boiled and taken to homes. No. The data that they're using to identify the children who are involved in the school feeding over this period is what they're still using to supply food items, supply food items to parents. So we invite the NGOs and the civil society to please monitor, because that's their job to monitor. Is it what is going on? The idea of stopping is not what will resolve the issue. It's to make sure that what is being done correctly and people are getting it. And this is not just in Nigeria that they are doing school feeding during lockdown. I will read you an independent, that's from the Independent newspaper in the UK about this. It said millions of children not getting enough food during lockdown. That's the headline of this newspaper article that I'll read for you, which was published on 4th May 2020. It says millions of children are experiencing increased food insecurity during lockdown, according to a new poll. A YouGov poll for the Food Foundation found that 2.4 million, 17% of children, are living in households that don't have enough food. 2 million children, 14%, have been receiving smaller portions and less nutritious meals during lockdown because their parents have run out of food, according to the poll. So you find out that the existing challenges are still there, and government in its wisdom may not necessarily stop school feeding during lockdown. But the issue is that monitor to ensure that the provisions are getting to the people that are supposed to benefit from that provision from the government.
Okay.
No problem. We end it on that note on this education sector, and I just want to appreciate our resource persons, Mr. Ozelako Zikora, who is the Chairman Governing Council of Polytechnic Offa. Thank you for your time, sir.
Thank you very much.
And then on to the Venerable Professor Bernard Itebiye, the rector of Adam Igbudu Christian Institute in Delta State. We appreciate your time, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
God bless you, sir. Now, after the break, and we also appreciate the Right Reverend Dapo Ashaju. Unfortunately, we lost a connection to him. We hope that possibly before the end of the program, we can bring him back to answer some other questions.
Yes, I'm back now.
That were left for him to take up. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Now, we are going to take a short break, and we'll be talking to us on economic effects of COVID-19 in Nigeria. It's not a news that a lot of people are losing their jobs. Now, we'll look at
this short break.
How do I get tested? If you fall into any of these previously mentioned categories, remain in self-isolation and immediately call your state hotline or the NCDC toll-free line on the screen. The State Ministry of Health, supported by NCDC, will arrange for sample collection and transportation. Can I get tested? There are several labs across Nigeria for the testing of COVID-19, and these labs are currently rapidly being expanded across the country to reduce turnaround time from when the samples are taken to when they are tested for the disease. And you can only get tested if you fit the criteria as previously mentioned and a sample has been collected for testing by the state team. What do I do if my COVID-19 test is positive? If your result is positive, please do not panic. Many people who have the infection will show mild symptoms and they can recover quickly with just supportive care. And most of the cases recorded till date in Nigeria are mild to moderate and are clinically stable. What do I do if my COVID-19 test is negative? If your result is negative, it means that you are not infected at the time your sample was taken. However, it is still possible to get infected. Therefore, you should continue to practice social distancing. Wash your hands with soap and running water all the time. Use alcohol-based hand rub frequently and clean your environment all the time. Should I come to the Nigeria Center for Disease Control to get tested? No. If you fall into any of these previously mentioned categories, please remain in self-isolation and immediately call your state hotline or the NCDC toll-free line on the screen.
The effect has been enormous. So many people have lost their job. So many people cannot pay salary. People are struggling to survive. Even in the international economy, the dollar is nothing to write home about, and most nations like Nigeria will rely on the dollar. The higher the crude oil, the better for our economy. But now the crude oil is down, the economy is down. You see government coming to review budgets, states are reviewing budgets, and when you are reviewing budgets, you are slashing down budget. You are also slashing down development. You are slashing down ways you ought to have empower the people. You are slashing down employment opportunities. So the effect has been great. As a private businessman, I know how much I've suffered. My staff receive salary without working, but I have to pay them. That's my own responsibility to pay them. But some people did not pay. So like private schools now, they have already written to all their teachers that they will not pay them. They have not collected salaries for April and May, most private schools. So the effect, you cannot quantify it. It has been enormous. And this is something actually we did not plan for. We did not plan for it. We did not prepare for it. It just came like an earthquake. And it's really affecting almost the whole world. Government should be able to give back little. I know they can't do all, but they should be able to give something to the society. It is our right as citizens. It's our right as people belonging to this nation. Other countries are doing it. Even if you go to other advanced countries, you see them giving palliative to people that are not even indigenous. But here we are sharing a cup of rice per a building, maybe a building of 2-3 flats. What would that do? They will come to TV and show us trailers of rice, trailers of yams. But in the real sense of it, go to where they are sharing it. My brother showed me a picture of what they gave to their streets in Lagos. 3 mudu of rice, 3 mudu of beans, 3 sachets of tomato paste to a street of 15 houses. So how would they share it? Are they going to share it 1 grain per family? So government should be sincere with us, because this thing we are doing, God is watching. God is watching. According to our former facility, there is God. So we should have the...
There are a lot of false information about the coronavirus. These are the facts. People of all ages can be affected by the coronavirus. However, older people and people with pre-existing medical conditions such as asthma, diabetes, heart diseases are more vulnerable to the disease. It is not for old people alone. Gargling salt and warm water or chewing garlic and ginger cannot prevent the virus. Drinking alcohol, hot lemon, palm oil or chloroquine will not kill the virus. The virus cannot be transmitted through mosquito bites. Antibiotics do not work against the viruses. Antibiotics work only against bacteria. Boiling pineapple peels, lime and ginger does not kill the virus. Putting raw onions in rooms will not ward off the virus. Using or spraying Dettol, special oils and water all over your body cannot kill the virus. There is no drinking or eating any of these is an effective treatment for coronavirus. Do not self-medicate and take responsibility by sharing only verified messages from health authorities such as NCDC, Federal Ministry of Health and WHO. COVID-19 is not airborne. The virus that causes the disease is transmitted through droplets. When people cough or sneeze, droplets land on nearby surfaces that you may touch. Therefore, clean surfaces regularly. Avoid touching your eyes, nose or mouth. Wash your hands with soap and water or alcohol-based hand rub. Maintain a physical distance of at least 2 meters from people, always. And if you are ill, wear a face mask to avoid infecting others.
Every embargo of the enemy shall get out of your system, your business, your family, in the mighty name of Jesus.
Amen.
In every area of your life, God will grant unto you breakthrough.
So I don't know what your own situation is today. Is it economic? The Lord can heal it.
Amen.
This hour, every problem, every siege, whatever battle, sicknesses and diseases, we pack and go in the name of Jesus.
Amen. Help is going to come not from men, not from those places you've trusted or expected, but it's going to come from above. And if it's going to come from above, it's going to defy, medical science.
Yes, Lord.
Showing light every Friday at 12 noon West African time.
Not that I mean to undermine polytechnics, they do a good job, but university education is actually more valuable.
What the teacher is supposed to do is to identify those people that are very, very slow in learning.
When you discover your child is not performing well in a particular subject, it's for you to encourage the child and find out ways to assist the child.
I want to give respect to the school in which you graduated from. What I see in you and I expect is what you can offer. And this is what polytechnic education equipped the graduate with.
There's no longer white-collar jobs. They are nowhere to be found. The population is increasing on a daily basis, and the government cannot provide all the needed jobs for the boarding youths.
It's the doctor that the patient has to get a prescription from. The reason is that when the patient comes, the patient gets a card and is directed to see the physician.
Hello viewers, it is your day of right believing and you are welcome. Colossians chapter 2 verse 10 says, "And you are complete in him, who is the head of all principality and power." What do you see? Do you see someone who is imperfect and lacking in many areas? Or someone who is whole and complete in Christ? There are believers who see themselves as incomplete. This is because they are conscious of their lack and imperfections. They say, there are so many things imperfect about me. How can I be complete if there are so many things I'm lacking in? They see their weaknesses, condemn themselves, and feel inferior to others. The good news is that God does not see the way man sees. Man sees the flesh. God sees the spirit. He sees us already complete in Christ. In spite of our imperfections, he sees us as new creations, partakers of his divine nature, and more than conquerors over our faults. And he wants us to see ourselves the way he sees us. What we think we need or lacking in, whether it is godly character traits or physical health, we already have in Christ. My friend, you are not going to be complete in Christ someday. You are already complete in Christ. What you to do is to walk daily in that completeness by believing that it is true and confessing that what you need right now, Jesus is to you. He is your complete forgiveness, complete righteousness, complete favor, and complete protection. So don't focus on the lack you see in your life. Focus instead on how Christ in you is your complete everything. At this moment, instead of weaknesses, lack, and defects, you will see his strength, wholeness, soundness, and completeness manifesting in you.
Powerful brain food. What does the food you eat have to do with how your brain functions? Turns out a lot. We've always known that what we eat affects our bodies and how we look. Brain foods you should be eating to feed both your mind and body. With a mix of fruit, vegetable, oil, and even chocolate. Yes, chocolates. There's something to please everyone. 5 best food for brain. Blueberries. Proving that great things do come in small packages. They've got so many great health benefits while tasting like an all-natural candy. For starters, it's one of the highest antioxidant-rich foods known to man, including vitamin C, vitamin K, and fiber. Because of their high level of garlic acid, blueberries are especially good at protecting our brains from degeneration and stress. Get your daily dose of brain berries in an omega blueberry smoothie, pumpkin blueberry pancakes, or in a healthy blueberry cobbler. Coconut oil. Coconut oil, one of the most versatile and good for you. With 77 coconut oil uses and cures, there's almost nothing that coconut oil can't help. And when it comes to your brain, it's full of benefits too. Coconut oil works as a natural anti-inflammatory, suppressing cells responsible for inflammation. It can help with memory loss as you age and destroy bad bacteria that hangs out in your gut. Get your dose of coconut oil in this baked grouper with coconut cilantro sauce or coconut crust pizza. Fluted pumpkin. This type of dark green leafy vegetable is so versatile and can be recognized as a panacea to cure some of our hunger as well as illness, if only we can look deep into its benefits. Many people prefer to cook it as a vegetable with all the condiments that help whet the appetite. Some just boil and eat it plain like that, or blend it into a shake. Dark chocolate. Not all chocolate is created equal. In fact, dark chocolate can actually be good for you. Chocolate is chock full of flavonols, which have antioxidants and anti-inflammatory properties. They can also help lower blood pressure and improve blood flow to both the brain and heart. Most of the chocolate you see on supermarket shelves is highly processed with few benefits. The rule of thumb is, the darker the chocolate, the more health benefits. Egg yolks. On the nutritional naughty list for years, egg yolks are finally experiencing their well-deserved day in the sun. If you've been eating only egg whites, the yolk's on you. Yolks contain large amounts of choline, which helps in fertile brain development for pregnant women. It also breaks down chemical that produces hormones related to happiness. That's right, egg can make you happy. If you've kept away from eating eggs all because of cholesterol concerns, there is good news. Studies show that eating eggs had no effect on the cholesterol levels of healthy adults and minds. In fact, help raise good cholesterol levels. It's also one of the most inexpensive sources of protein out there. Just be sure you're buying organic free-range eggs. For some inspiration, eat baked eggs and spinach, and also salmon egg bake.
COVID-19 is not airborne. The virus that causes the disease is transmitted through droplets. When people cough or sneeze, droplets land on nearby surfaces that you may touch. Therefore, avoid touching your eyes, nose, or mouth. Wash your hands with soap and water or alcohol-based hand rub. Maintain a physical distance of at least 2 meters from people, always. And if you are ill, wear a face mask to avoid infecting others.
Difference has been enormous. So many people have lost their job. So many people cannot pay salary. People are struggling to survive. Even in the international economy, the dollar is nothing to write home about. And most nations like Nigeria will rely on the dollar. The higher the crude oil, the better for our economy. But now the crude oil is down. the economy is down, you see government coming to review budget, states are reviewing budget, and when you are reviewing budget, you are slashing down budget, you are also slashing down development, you are slashing down ways you ought to have empower the people, you are slashing down employment opportunities. So the effect has been great. As a private businessman, I know how much I have suffered. My staff receive salary without working, but I have to pay them. That's my own responsibility to pay them. But some people did not pay. So like private schools now, they have already written to all their teachers that they will not pay them. They have not collected salaries for April and May, most private schools. So the effect, you cannot quantify it. It has been enormous. And this is something actually we did not plan for. We did not plan for it, we did not prepare for it. It just came like an earthquake, and it's really affecting almost the whole world. The government should be able to give back little. I know they can't do all, but they should be able to give something to the society. It is our right as citizens. It's our right as people belonging to this nation. Other countries are doing it. Even if you go to other advanced countries, you see them giving palliative to people that are not even indigenous. But here we are sharing a cup of rice per a building, maybe a building of 2-3 flats. What would that do? They will come to TV and show us trailers of rice, trailers of yams. But in the real sense of it, go to where they are sharing it. My brother showed me a picture of what they gave to their streets in Lagos. 3 mudu of rice, 3 mudu of beans, 3 sachets of tomato paste to a street of 15 houses. So how would they share it? Are they going to share it 1 grain per family? So government should be sincere with us, because this thing we are doing, God is watching. God is watching. According to our former president, there is God. So we should have the interest of our citizens at heart.
What happens when you drink water? Most of us already know and agree that there are numerous benefits from drinking water on an empty stomach in the early morning. The health benefits of drinking water in the morning are amazing. Water has magical properties when it comes to your health. Drinking of water makes you more fresh and healthy. Water improves your metabolism. It helps you lose weight. It keeps your heartburn at bay. Water improves skin appearance. It makes your hair look better. It stops urinary tract infections. And it helps improve and clean the immune system. Follow this method to feel energized throughout the day. Drink 4 glasses of water immediately after waking, before brushing your teeth. If you find it difficult to start with 4 glasses, start with 1 and gradually increase the amount. Do not eat anything for the next 45 minutes. After 45 minutes, you may eat and drink as normal. Do not eat or drink anything for 2 hours after breakfast, lunch and dinner.
Okay. We're still on exclusive. We're sorry for the long break. Just trying to connect with our guests for this segment, and we are going to be talking on the effect of COVID-19 on the economy, and I will be speaking with the Right Reverend Chidi Okpara-Ajaku. That's the Bishop of Ohaji Egbema Diocese in Imo State, and he's an economic and business expert. We hope to be able to connect back to him. And I'll also be talking with an entrepreneur and economic expert too, Mr. Oluwafewa Oredugba, who will also be speaking to us on the effect of COVID-19 on the economy. And if you agree with me that quite a lot of people have been at home for 2 months, businesses are down across most countries in the world due to the spread of the pandemic, and also here in Nigeria, as a particular focus, a lot of banking sector, business, hotels have been set to lock up for now, and in order to curb the spread of the virus. So the government is in between opening the business to ensure the economy thrive and saving lives. So we're going to be looking at the effect of COVID-19 on Nigerian economy. And so I will start with Mr. Fewa, who will give us his opinions on this effect of the pandemic on the economic sector. Now, Mr. Fewa, can you just briefly let us know what is the outlook of the economy, especially of Nigeria, in this pandemic period? How is it affecting the economy?
Well, let's even first talk about how many cases we have in Africa as a whole. Presently, we have over 91,000 cases in Africa, and then in Nigeria, we have over 7,000 cases already. And out of all this, in the world, we have about 6.85% of these cases, active cases, have resulted in death. But if we're talking about the economy, the IMF has estimated that about 3%, the economy is going to decline by 3% in 2020 alone, while global trade is expected to fall by 11% this year alone. Oil prices have already begun to fall. So, you know, things are not looking so good already as because of the COVID-19 pandemic. And presently, many countries all over the world are having different kinds of crises that they are facing: health crises, domestic economic crises, foreign external demands, capital outflow, and a collapse in commodity prices. So these are all the things that are going on all over the world presently that need, I don't know whether prayer is what I can say we need right now, or we need urgent intervention, even in this country and the world over. Because even countries in the West are worst hit as well. They are not experiencing, what they're experiencing is not palatable even to their own economy. The U.S. economy was, even before the pandemic, they already had a 3% deficit. That's about $3.something trillion already before the pandemic. So now that the pandemic has already hit the world and U.S. especially, you can imagine how terrible the deficit in that body is going to be. So world over, stock prices are crashing. Even in Nigeria, the stock price at the stock market has badly hit. That is more terrible than it was in 2008. So all these are things that are happening all over the world because of the COVID-19, and there's so much for governments, individuals, and private institutions to do because everybody keeps one way or the other.
Okay, now, will you say that Nigeria was ready for all this? I mean, looking at the health sector, looking at other sectors, this pandemic started around December, and Nigeria had its first case in February. Do you think the government will have done something a bit more proactive?
Realistically, we were not ready. Because if we were, there were many things that should have been put in place even before we had our first case in February. Because this thing started in November in China, and it wasn't until February that Nigeria had its first case. So we had ample time to prepare. But what we did was, as much as possible, we tried to do have thermal scanners at the airport, you know, just so that people can be scanned before entering for temperature increase and all that. But there were other things that could have been done in that they could have provided isolation centers for those that are for incoming travelers. If isolation centers were created, it would have made the spread of this thing to be so low. But we didn't do that. So realistically, we're not ready. But good enough, we're far better. We're more ready than even some Western countries, US, European countries. We're ready. We're more prepared than we were in that. At least our cases has not gone up so much. And then before they even started implementing thermal scanners and all that, the cases there already started increasing. So we're not ready, but at least we were able to swing into action, have isolation centers, start sensitizing people. We're able to swing into action. We could have done better, but we're not ready when this thing started. We're not ready.
Okay, so now, before I take the bishop back, now, what are the factors that that worsen, that has just worsened our economic crisis? I mean, before now, we know that things were not really in shape economically. Now, with the incoming of COVID-19 pandemic, what are the things that you notice that has even now critically crippled the economy?
I think one of the major things is we don't have accurate data on anything. We don't have accurate data on anything. If we knew, okay, this is the number of people that are unemployed presently, this is where they live, you know, these are the people that, so that all these palliatives that are being shared, it will have been easy to identify these people and start giving them the what they call it now, these palliatives that they need. If you realize that, okay, this if you are, assuming we had accurate data now, we had the accurate data of in Abuja, this set of people, these names don't have jobs or have been let go of their jobs. It's not been easy during this lockdown period to be able to bring food to them, provide things for them. Then when the government said they wanted to share money to those sectors of the economy or to households that were living below the poverty line, when you look at how the government went about it, people had to start living wherever they were staying to their home state. If we had accurate data, it would have been easier for people to be identified at where they live. So you don't have to start going back to their state to start stressing even the state government. And even, you know, you worsen the situation there, because assuming the government even had, let's assume Lagos State knew, okay, this household, there are 5 people that are presently living here, and the 5 of them don't have jobs, don't have food to eat, don't have reasonable means of livelihood. And then people from Abuja have to now leave their state and go to Lagos. They are going to stretch whatever is being provided for them over there. So that lack of accurate data is one thing that is that needs to be checked in a country like ours. Then I also think that the fact that government is effectively the one driving the economy. You know, we don't have, the inability of the government to effectively drive the economy. It's private sectors that have been donating money and all that for, you know, to be able to do create isolation centers and create different things during this lockdown period. If the government had enough funding, private sector was only meant to do their own bit, while the government will have been to do most of what they needed to do. Now the government is even wanting to use the monies donated by private citizens to fund the budget. So, you know, all these things are things that if the government can do better in these areas, it will go a long way in the present and also in the future.
Mr. Now, what will you say concerning the economic, what's it called, the economic plans of the government? Now, from the parallel market now, dollar is around 450 to 480 naira to that's in naira to a dollar. Are these effects of this 2 months lockdown?
Yes, it is. It's definitely the effect of the 2 months lockdown. We have many people unemployed. We cannot export. We cannot export oil like we used to. Even the oil that we bought months ago is still on the high sea. You know, so definitely that would have effect on the dollar. The purchasing power of the dollar will definitely be affected. So these it's definitely part of the things that we're experiencing. If the lockdown had been well, if there was no lockdown, these things will not happen. The naira had to be the naira to dollar had to be adjusted from 306 to 360, all because of this lockdown. Because people are not buying anything. People are not importing. Oil market is down. Stock market is down. So definitely there's going to be a shoot in the, and you know, the economic inactivity generally is going to result in all this.
Okay, now, do you think that what should the government be doing now? Everything seems to be closed, and the government trying to share palliatives, and this shutdown has crippled a lot of private business, and so it's already resulting into insecurity. So what best can we be thinking of now?
What best can we be thinking of doing now? Well, the economy has to open up. That's just the plain truth. The economy has to open up one way or the other. Different countries world over are already looking at doing this because the lack of activities, people are not going to work. It's definitely, and the fact that the government can't reach everybody to provide, to cushion the effect of this, they are going to be at home for the next 2 months. So definitely, it's one thing that we can only ask that let the economy be opened up, let economic activity resume, so that at least people can start, because you know lots of people have lost their jobs already, and when people lose their jobs, there's no food in the house, you know, crime rates could spike. So we can only ask that the government opens up the economy, even though it's gradual phase, but we need to, and everybody needs to be proactive in protecting themselves. So, you know, the issue of not wearing masks, you cannot do that. You know, so these are things we have to look at for us to, for things to go back to normal.
Now, is this the time that the government really needs to be looking at patronizing homemade products and investing more in products that the company can export? What will be the effect of this on the economy if the government look into this?
I don't think now is the time for us to be looking at buying. This is not the time for us to say, let's start buying things from the local industry. I think this is what we should have done earlier. It's not now we start looking at buying from the local industry, because if the local industries can't get manufacturing, I mean their what do they call it now? Manufacturing materials, then whatever product or produce they want to produce in the country will not be good enough. So it's still very important that the economy has to open up first before we start talking about patronizing local industries. Many local industries can't even open up because there is no business activity going on in most parts of the world. So if we want to start patronizing locally, the economy has to open up. People have to get materials, move around freely. Dollar has possibly come down as well because purchasing power of companies and individuals has reduced. But the clarity that government going forward, let that into our local industry. That's the only way we can grow as a country.
Okay, let me go to Bishop Chidi Okwara from Imo State to find out. My Lord, sir, you've been doing some write-ups on weekly basis on the effect of this pandemic on the economy, and I would like you to just share briefly what you think has gone wrong and what you think we can be thinking of.
Thank you so much. I think the issue of COVID-19 is supposed to be overblown and given on and worried. And that creates anxiety and fear that of people who are supposed naturally to be going about their duty and job, hiding inside their rooms. Then, of course, you know that we are locked down, but the time was not locked down. Everyone in this world have missed 2 months already. 2 months have been missed completely. You can't redeem it again. Now, virus, COVID-19 virus happened to be a virus in virus family. We've been having viruses before now. It's not the first time we have virus. But the way it's being handled and the way it's being talked about and the way it's being created here and there, some people pretend to be God themselves who's supposed to provide a solution to this problem. So many people run into their homes. Government shut down borders, shut down schools, restaurants, hotels and all of that. Shut everything, collapse the economy of just one virus. And today it's affecting everybody. Everybody, both the superpowers and non-superpowers. Both the developed countries and non-developed countries. Because it affects every economy. And based on that, everywhere it's affected. Both the Western world and Nigeria, and what comes to mind again that COVID-19 has its own bad effect and its own good effect.
So, my Lord,
people are dying, they are non-bad.
So, my Lord, what would have been your advice to the government? Was it that they should have kept the economy running, or was the decision taken by the government, was it the best that we could have?
Yeah, I'm concerned. The economy can be shut down, but the schools, it's more like a tambarit. You know why? These students who went back to homes now, many of them will come back contacting the disease to back to school again. But if on the onset, the boarding schools were completely knocked off, the students would be inside the school, and then a strict decision be taken that nobody goes in, nobody goes out from that school until this thing is over. It would have been better to preserve them, they would take their work. But now they're at home, many of them are contacted and listen at home, and I go back to school. It's not a problem initially, but since the government are taking a decision, I'm concerned God will deliver the people I said that they But students who were in boarding school, those schools who were borders, should have been completely closed their gate completely with a strict warning by the state government, by several government, that no student goes out, no comes in, no teacher goes out, no teacher comes in that school. Those who are inside should be inside, those who are outside should be outside. And then they continue their academics. But I was lost almost 3 months. And then they'll come back to school now. So that's my stake.
Okay. my lord, looking at what the economic effect now, which is now leading into insecurity, food insecurity, a lot of farmers cannot go to their farms, and some of these things. What is in the government at this point?
Well, first and foremost, the interest should be about job loss. More people will lose their jobs. More people will lose their jobs. Already, I don't know if it's true. That's the team and including taxi drivers, 2 people from the airport. We need to roll around. Now, by 2017, almost 54,000 people ready for job from the airport. The banks are laying off. Oil companies are laying off. Even hospital homes are laying off. Because they can't go there for 2 months, and I told them by 1st of June, I'm going to ask people to leave until further notice. So people are shutting down already. People are coming from abroad. You know, when people over 7,000, 8,000 are going back from abroad, they're trying to go back to Nigeria. You know what that means. And Nigerians have been located. You know what that means. The prisoners have been set out. You know what that means. This means population increase on its own naturally. Who is doing very well want to come back to Nigeria at the time like this. So those who are coming back to Nigeria, forgive me to say this, are also people who are coming to the helped. So they can see from having. I think that what they can do, what to do now is people should learn trade and skill. Don't create job. What we can do for Nigeria now is to create the environment for job creation. And what I mean by that, creating social amenities, good roads, good network facilities, power. So people can, every sector can be, foreign investment can come in and then get jobs. It's only in Nigeria people look to government to get next government don't create more than 10% jobs. It's private sector that creates jobs for any country. So Nigeria should put to empower the private sector by giving them proper incentives, give them low interest rates, and give them the environment. Political environment, not instability, not security. The place that can come and establish the private sector can create jobs for Nigeria. If that happens, the jobs will be everywhere. For food security, for food. People are no more in family. Hello?
Okay, hello, sir. My lord, we are trying to get you connected where the audio is not really clear. So let me go to Mr. Fewabi while we try and reconnect back with Bishop Chidi. Now, let me say, can you just round us up on your thoughts on you will be advising Nigerians now on the way forward?
Okay, the truth is, like Bishop said, there are going to be more job losses. That is definite. There are going to be more job losses in various sectors of the economy. I think the only ones that are safe now, technically, are the government workers. But that's the federal government workers. State government workers may still not get their salaries paid for quite a while. So I think everybody has to know that salaries may not be paid, jobs may still be lost as the year goes on. Jobs may still be lost. So one of the ways forward is for employers and employees to sit down and talk. Let there be, for organizations that don't want to lay off, let there be an agreement that across board we are going to reduce salaries. So everybody is going to maybe be taking 1/4 of their salaries or half of their salaries or whatever it is, so that way you still survive and afford to keep you till things return back to normal. Then government can also look at giving tax holidays to establishments to private institutions. FIRS now is not the time for the FIRS is looking at taking tax from anybody now. Let people breathe, because people don't even have enough to eat. Companies cannot even afford to pay salaries. So now is not the time to be looking at tax and looking at collecting tax from people now. Let there be a tax holiday, at least for the next 6 months, so that people can bounce back. For the reality on ground, that everybody now start looking at what you can do to make money now. As a business owner, except you have a lot of money in bank, as a business owner, as an employee, you have to start looking at what can I do to sustain me. If it is selling something, making something, thinking out your creative self. Everybody has to sit down now and start thinking of the way forward, because it may take a while before we return back to normal. It may take a while before things return back to normal. Before we start saying, okay, now what happened last year, I can now afford those things. It's going to take a while, but I believe that with nothing is possible.
Okay, my lord, let's try to see if your audio is much more clearer, sir. Hello, sir. Okay, sir. You were making a point, sir, and we couldn't hear properly, sir. So let's try and get you again, sir.
COVID-19 is a blessing in disguise. It's will live with us in HIV/AIDS when it came about. Therefore, everybody thought the whole world would finish. But today we are living with HIV/AIDS. Almost 20 years gone. So COVID-19 will come as already is here. Our approach to it is very wrong, because we are created fear. A lot of people, the whole world are short, their borders short, and the economy short, and everything, just for a virus. And at the end, we are opening the economy now, and we are going to be affected by people. A lot of unemployment going on. A lot of people are being sacked daily from oil company, manufacturing sector, hospitality, government circles, and all of that. So the it is much. Deployment is much. Yeah.
Well, we may have to end it here, because the audio from Bishop is a bit bad, and we are already shot out of our time. I want to appreciate you, the Right Reverend Chidi Okpara Ajaku, for your time, sir, and also Mr. Oluwafewa Oredugba. Thank you for your time. All right, that's where we draw the curtain today, and looking forward into the future of how things get better in our country and overall in the whole world. But one thing is this: you have to keep safe, and let's listen to the experts on how best we can go on this. Until next time again, when we bring up another topic, remain blessed. Bye.
How do I get tested? If you fall into any of these previously mentioned categories, remain in self-isolation and immediately call your state hotline or the NCDC toll-free line on the screen. The State Ministry of Health, supported by NCDC, will arrange for sample collection and transportation to the lab. Where can I get tested? There are several labs across Nigeria for the testing of COVID-19, and these labs are currently rapidly being expanded across the country to reduce turnaround time from when the samples are taken to when they are tested for the disease. And you can only get tested if you fit the criteria as previously mentioned, and a sample has been collected for testing by the state team. What do I do if my COVID-19 test is positive? If your result is positive, please do not panic. Many people who have the infection will show mild symptoms and they can recover quickly with just supportive care. And most of the cases recorded till date in Nigeria are mild to moderate and are clinically stable. What do I do if my COVID-19 test is negative? If your result is negative, it means that you are not infected at the time your sample was taken. However, it is still possible to get infected. Therefore, you should continue to practice social distancing. Wash your hands with soap and running water all the time. Use alcohol-based hand rub frequently and clean your environment all the time. Should I come to the Nigeria Center for Disease Control to get tested? No. If you fall into any of these previously mentioned categories, please remain in self-isolation and immediately call your state hotline or the NCDC toll-free line on the screen.
There are a lot of false information about the coronavirus. These are the facts. People of all ages can be affected by the coronavirus. However, older people and people with pre-existing medical conditions such as asthma, diabetes, heart diseases are more vulnerable to the disease. It is not for old people alone. Gargling salt and warm water or chewing garlic and ginger cannot prevent the virus. Drinking alcohol, hot lemon, palm oil or chloroquine will not kill the virus. The virus cannot be transmitted through mosquito bites. Antibiotics do not work against the viruses. Antibiotics work only against